My family tried to fix me up with my ex at a reunion, despite knowing how badly she hurt me. So I went no contact. I'm Ethan, 35. Just your average guy from the Midwest who thought honesty and loyalty were the rules people lived by, especially family. I work in construction, keep my head down, live simply. Thought I knew what family meant. I guess I was wrong. So here's what went down. It had been 3 years since the divorce. 3 years of clawing my way out of the mess Rachel had left in her wake. Debt, lies, nearly broken relationships with people I once trusted. I was finally in a good place again. I didn't even flinch anymore when I thought about her, or all the ways she'd taken advantage of me while I'd been too stupid or blind to see it. Then last summer, my mom called and invited me to a family reunion. Just the family, she said, a low-key get-together so everyone could catch up. I figured it'd be simple, maybe a few beers with my cousins, dinner with my parents, relaxed, normal. But what I walked into was anything but. I opened the front door, calling out, "Hey, I'm here," and then I saw her. Rachel was standing in the living room, holding a drink, chatting with my dad like they were best friends. Just there, like it was nothing. My stomach dropped, and it took everything I had not to turn around and walk right back out. Mom spotted me before I could react. "Ethan, come in, come in. Look who dropped by." She sounded way too chipper, like this was some big surprise I was supposed to be happy about. My eyes darted around the room, hoping maybe one of my cousins had brought her. But no, my mom was beaming, like she was proud of whatever brilliant plan she and Dad had cooked up. Rachel looked over, her expression carefully neutral, like she was waiting to see how I'd react. I gritted my teeth, feeling that old anger bubble up, the kind I thought I'd left behind. I shot a look at my mom and Dad, doing my best to keep my voice calm. "What is this?" I asked, struggling to keep my tone steady. My dad stepped in, putting his arm around Rachel's shoulders. "It's a family reunion, son. Rachel's still family after all. We figured this would be a good chance for you two to reconnect." Reconnect? My mind was racing, piecing together what this actually was. They knew what she'd done, how she'd maxed out our credit cards behind my back, drained my savings, left me with debt so deep I'd nearly gone bankrupt. They knew she'd lied, manipulated me, and tried to paint me as the bad guy when I finally called her out. And yet, here she was, standing in the middle of my parents' living room, with my family acting like we were about to sit down for Thanksgiving dinner together. Rachel stepped forward, her smile practiced smooth. "Hey, Ethan, I know, it's been a while. I thought maybe we could talk." Her voice was syrupy, the kind she'd used whenever she wanted something, and it made my skin crawl. "Talk," I echoed, barely able to keep the disgust out of my voice. She nodded, glancing around as if she was checking her audience. "You know, clear the air. For everyone's sake." I couldn't believe it. "Clear the air? After everything you did, you think we need to clear the air?" My mom stepped in, her tone motherly but insistent. "Ethan, please. Rachel came here with good intentions. Don't you think it's time you let go of all that bitterness?" I clenched my jaw, trying to hold back the words I wanted to say. Bitterness? They thought I was just being bitter? The woman had nearly ruined my life, and they were acting like this was some little squabble I hadn't let go of. Rachel put on her best wounded look, her voice soft. "I know I hurt you, Ethan. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I just want a chance to explain, to make things right. Make things right." I could barely hold back a laugh. She wanted to make things right now, after leaving me with tens of thousands of dollars in debt and trying to smear my name in every way possible. But before I could say anything, my dad cut in. "Son, we're asking for a little forgiveness here. People change. Rachel's family and family sticks together." The words hit me like a slap. "Family? You're calling her family after everything she put me through?" My mom crossed her arms, looking at me with that disappointed look she'd perfected over the years. Ethan, holding on to all this isn't good for you. Sometimes we need to forgive and move on. I felt my blood pressure spike. My own family, who'd watched me suffer through that divorce, who'd seen the mess Rachel left me in, were telling me to move on, to let her back in. I looked at each of them, waiting for someone to step up, to realize how insane this all was. But they were all standing there, nodding along as if I was the one being unreasonable. Rachel's voice was soft, almost pitying. Ethan, I understand if you're still angry. I get that. But holding on to that anger is only hurting you. I came here out of kindness, to help you let go. I almost laughed. Kindness? You think this is kindness? My voice was steady, but inside, I was raging. After everything you did, you think showing up here is some grand favor? She met my gaze, her expression a perfect mix of sympathy and irritation, as though she was dealing with a child throwing a tantrum. Yes, kindness. Because forgiving each other is better for both of us. I don't want you to stay stuck in the past. I felt like I was on fire. You don't want me stuck in the past, I repeated, barely able to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. You mean the past where you lied, drained our accounts, and left me in debt? Or the part where you tried to convince everyone I was the problem? My mother, still convinced she was being the voice of reason, took another step forward. Ethan, please, you're being so dramatic. All Rachel wants is a chance to talk. Don't you think that's fair? Fair, I repeated, feeling my voice rise despite myself. You're calling this fair? You're all sitting here, forcing me into a room with someone who nearly destroyed me, and you're calling it fair. My father's face darkened. Son, you're out of line. Rachel has come a long way to be here, and we expect you to at least be civil. I glanced around the room, at my cousins watching wide-eyed from the corner, at my aunts and uncles who were awkwardly pretending not to listen. My parents were standing there, expecting me to play nice, to swallow every word I wanted to say just to keep the peace. But this wasn't about peace. This was about control. Rachel's expression turned sharp, losing any pretense of kindness. You know, Ethan, maybe you're right. Maybe this is a waste of time. Some people just never learn how to let go. Her tone was condescending, the same tone she'd used during our marriage whenever she'd talk me into something that wasn't in my best interest. That was her game, to wear me down, make me doubt myself, get me to question my own reactions. But I wasn't that person anymore. I took a deep breath, staring her down. You really think you can waltz in here, put on this little show, and I'll just fall in line? That I'll forget everything you did because you decided it's time to let go? Rachel's face tightened, but she kept that condescending smile. Ethan, this attitude isn't going to help anyone. I'm just trying to be the bigger person here. You're the one clinging to grudges. I took a step closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. Bigger person? You drained my accounts, left me in debt, tried to ruin my reputation, and now you're here acting like you're some saint doing me a favor. Her eyes flashed, and for a split second, I saw the real Rachel. The one who had no problem lying, manipulating, twisting every situation to her benefit. The mask slipped, and I saw the anger underneath. Before she could respond, my dad put a hand on my shoulder, trying to steer me back. Ethan, enough. You're embarrassing yourself and us. Rachel's made her peace with things. It's time for you to do the same. I looked at him, feeling a mixture of sadness and anger I couldn't quite explain. You really don't get it, do you? You're standing here, telling me to play nice with someone who took everything she could from me, who lied to my face for years, and you're more worried about her feelings than mine. My mom looked at me, her expression a mix of frustration and hurt. Ethan, we raised you to be better than this, to forgive, to rise above. Holding on to grudges like this, it's not healthy. She's here now, she's sorry, and we're asking you as your parents to let this go. Can't you do that? For us, it was the same line they'd always used when I was a kid. Do it for us, Ethan. No matter the situation, no matter the issue, it always came back to me making the sacrifice. This time, though, it wasn't about a missed dinner or a skipped trip. This was them asking me to sit down and forgive the person who'd nearly destroyed my life. And they had the nerve to make it about them. I looked around at everyone, then back at Rachel, who was watching me with a look that was part amusement, part impatience. I could tell she thought she'd won, that this was all just a matter of time. She was probably already picturing herself sliding back into my life, using my family as a foothold, just like before, and they were playing right into her hands. All right, I said slowly, my voice so calm it surprised even me. Let's get everything out on the table then. Since we're all about family and forgiveness here, everyone fell silent, eyes on me. I could feel the tension in the room ratchet up, but I didn't care. I was done playing along, done swallowing my words to keep the peace. I turned to Rachel, my voice icy. You want forgiveness? Fine. Let's talk about what you actually did, Rachel. Not the version you've been feeding them. She crossed her arms, her smile dropping. Ethan, I think we both know this isn't the place. Oh no. It's exactly the place. I cut her off. You don't get to come in here, play the victim, and then hide from the truth. I turned to my parents, who were watching with a mix of horror and confusion. You want to know why I'm so angry? Why I can't just let go like you keep saying. My mom started to say something, but I cut her off. Let me talk. Let me tell you exactly what your little family member did while she was busy ruining my life. I faced Rachel. Remember the credit cards, Rachel? The ones you maxed out behind my back, using my name and my credit while telling me we were saving for our future? Remember the $30,000 debt you left me with? Rachel's face flushed, but she stayed silent, her arms crossed tightly. Oh, and let's not forget the savings account. The one I'd been building for years, my safety net. Drained. Every single dollar gone. And when I asked you about it, you told me I was too focused on money and that I needed to trust you. I turned to my mom, who looked stricken, and when I finally confronted her about it, she tried to turn it around on me, saying I didn't appreciate her and that I was controlling because I wanted to know where my own money went. Rachel's jaw was clenched tight now, her eyes narrowed, but I wasn't done. And you know what she did next? She started telling people I was financially abusive. She told anyone who would listen that I controlled her, that I restricted her freedom. I got calls from friends, family, people I barely knew, all asking if it was true, if I was actually that kind of guy. I could see the shock in my parents' faces, the dawning realization that maybe they didn't know the full story after all. And then, when I finally filed for divorce, she fought me tooth and nail, refused to leave, even though the apartment was in my name, claimed half of everything, including the little bit I had left after she'd already drained me dry. But yeah, I said, turning back to her with a bitter laugh, please, Rachel, tell me how I'm the one holding a grudge. Rachel's face had gone pale, her carefully crafted mask slipping. I could tell she wanted to say something, to twist the story in her favor, but I wasn't giving her the chance. And you, I said, looking at my parents, you're telling me to forgive this? You're telling me to sit here and act like it's all in the past. My mom was staring at the floor, looking utterly shocked. My dad looked away, his jaw tight, like he didn't want to believe a word of it. Finally, my dad spoke. Ethan, we didn't know. We thought it was just a rough patch. I let out a bitter laugh. A rough patch? She ruined my life, Dad. And now, here you are, welcoming her back like nothing happened. Like I'm the one who needs to get over it. Rachel finally found her voice. Oh, come on, Ethan, she sneered, her mask fully gone now, her tone dripping with venom. You act like you're so innocent. You weren't exactly perfect, either. You worked all the time, never made time for me, And yeah, maybe I spent some money, but it's not like you ever cared. I felt my jaw clench. I worked so I could build a future for us, so we could have a life, but I guess that didn't mean anything to you. She rolled her eyes. You're so self-righteous, always acting like the victim. Maybe if you'd actually paid attention, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere for someone who cared. The words hit me like a slap. She was really going to play that card. You mean the affair? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Yeah, I knew about that too. I knew about the guy you were seeing on the side while you were draining my bank account. You thought I was clueless. You thought I didn't know. The room was dead silent. My parents looked like they'd been hit by a freight train. My cousins were staring. And Rachel, well, she looked like she'd finally lost control of the situation. I stepped back, taking a deep breath, letting the weight of everything I'd just laid out sink in. So you all want forgiveness, right? You want me to be the bigger person, to let it go? I looked around the room, my gaze hard. Well, here's the thing. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone back into your life just because they want it. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending everything's fine when it's not. And it sure as hell doesn't mean sitting here and letting someone who hurt you walk all over you again. I turned to my mom and dad. If you want her in your life, that's your choice. But don't ask me to sit here and pretend like she didn't do everything she could to ruin mine. My mom looked at me, her voice small. Ethan, we're your family. We just wanted things to be okay. I shook my head, feeling a mix of sadness and anger. You want things to be okay? Then start by respecting my boundaries, by trusting that maybe I know what's best for me, even if it doesn't fit into whatever vision you had. My dad looked away, still not meeting my eyes, but I could see the wheels turning. He knew I was right. He just didn't want to admit it. Finally, I turned to Rachel one last time. I don't care what you came here for. I don't care what story you fed them to get invited, but you're not welcome in my life. Not now, not ever. And no amount of playing the victim or pretending to clear the air is going to change that. She glared at me, her face twisted with anger. You're pathetic, Ethan. Still clinging to the past. No wonder you're alone. I laughed. The sound bitter but genuine. Yeah, I'm alone. But I'm a hell of a lot happier alone than I ever was with you. With that, I turned on my heel and walked out, not looking back. The silence behind me was deafening, but I didn't care. I was done with all of it. The lies, the manipulation, the fake smiles. I was done pretending. After that day, things with my family were strained, to say the least. My parents didn't reach out for weeks, probably trying to process everything I'd said. A few cousins called, awkwardly asking if I was okay, and I gave them the basic rundown. They listened, a bit shocked, but I could tell some of them understood. Others, not so much. Rachel, thankfully, didn't try to contact me again. I think even she knew she'd lost whatever leverage she thought she had left. As for my parents, well, they eventually reached out, apologizing in their own awkward way. It wasn't perfect, and I didn't pretend everything was fine, but I could tell they were at least starting to get it. They understood that they'd crossed a line, that their good intentions had hurt me in ways they hadn't considered. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. I didn't magically forgive everyone, and I kept a respectful distance from my family. Eventually, my parents reached out with an apology. It wasn't perfect, but they acknowledged they'd overstepped, hurt me, and blindly given Rachel a second chance at my expense. Rachel, realizing she no longer had a hold over me, disappeared from my life for good. I moved on, choosing peace and self-respect over people who couldn't understand my pain. In the end, I rebuilt my boundaries, healed in my own way, and found real happiness on my terms. No apologies, no pretending. For the first time, I was truly free.